Hi, everybody. Welcome to our finale session on Soiree 2024. We have just a quick session here to look ahead at the August 2024 SIGGRAPH conference in Denver. And so with us to talk about that is Bill Joel, who is the Educators Forum Chair for the conference and overall education chair. And Nandhini Giri is here. I'm trying to pronounce that correctly,
Yeah.
um, is organizing the Educators Day program for 2024 and will be the education chair for 2025. So thank you for joining us. And why don't you share about how both educators and industry can get involved in these education tracks at the Denver conference?
Well, I think I'll take on first. One way educators can be involved is submit beyond attending, which is important in attending the conference, et cetera, but submit. And right now, the submissions for the Educators Forum, I believe the deadline for submission is around February 21st. I believe that's the date. So you've got some time to submit. And we're looking for ideas of things you do in the classroom. We're looking for sample lessons, projects, anything related to your curriculum. We're also looking for panels to discuss topics of interest, looking for courses. And the courses can either be an hour-and-a-half course or a 3-hour course. And if you go to the website, and Nick, could you pop the conference link onto the website? And
I just popped in the submission for Educators Forum page. I'll pop in a few more.
Excellent. One thing about submitting for the Educators Forum is you submit through the general submission process. In other words, there isn't a separate link for submitting. It's the same link that we use for any submission to the conference, except in the page where they have, check this, check that, check that. There's a part where, would you like this submission to be considered for the Educators Forum? Check that. That means that it will go to the jurors on what they call the general jury, on the jury. It will go to those people who have been delegated to look at educational submissions, which includes me as the education chair. And Nandini, are you going to be on that committee too? I don't remember.
I'm on the general submissions, but not necessarily the education one.
Well, if you're in the general submissions, I believe you're one of the people I think I flagged for the other people to say that these are the people who should look at the submissions for the forum. So again, submit, anything you submit. And what I can say is, don't feel like you have to have the world's greatest submission now. If you think you did something that was interesting, or as in research we say, new and novel with respect to teaching, submit it. Did you use, for example, did you use an off-the-shelf program for teaching, but you used it in a way that, as far as you can tell, no one's used that program the way you used it? That's a paper. Did you create a project for students to work on that when you were looking out to see if anybody else ever worked on this kind of a project, you can't find it? So it's new. Submit that. And submit as much as you can. Also, this is another thing. You can also, not just the forum, you can also submit a poster. If you're a little bit leery about it, it's not a full-blown talk, whatever, submit it as a poster. And the poster deadline is not till April. Now, what's the benefit? Well, several conferences ago, I submitted a poster on the importance of research in computer graphics education, all aspects of computer graphics, animation, et cetera, why research is important. It got accepted. And what I had is during the poster sessions, which are usually 2 one-hour sessions sometime during the conference, I had people coming up to my poster and we started having a wonderful discussion about the merits of research in undergraduate education, all kinds of disciplines. And that's the purpose of a poster. So I would encourage you to submit a talk, a panel, a course. And if you do, that has to be done by February. February 21st, I believe that's the date. But if you want to go, it's an idea, but it's not as large an idea as, say, a talk, submit it as a poster. And that deadline comes in April. But more importantly, submit, talk to people, spread the word, let them know about this conference. And the other part at the conference is Educators Day. And I'm going to turn it over to Nandhini so she can talk about what the Educators Day is and the kind of companies we're looking for and what attendees can benefit by attending those sessions. Nandhini, yours.
Cool. Thank you, Bill. So the Educators Day, that's kind of pretty more recent, started in 2022. And in the whole SIGGRAPH conference, Educators Day is going to be this one whole day where all the content that's being provided in the session, it's complete programming for educators. So this is going to be a space where you have all these talks coming from companies talking about their latest technologies or the tools, but it's also about how educators can apply it in class. And moreover, these companies are looking for feedback from educators on how their tools and technologies are being used in classrooms and what are the ways that it can be more beneficial for educators and for students to be learning about these technologies. So that way there's going to be more companies. We are talking to different stakeholders right now, like graphics, more hardware, software related to production. So it's going to be a great place for both educators, the creators, and the producers of these technologies to be in the same room and maybe do some hands-on training, learn about some of the educational programs that companies are offering, talk more ways to improve collaboration. So there's a lot of potential. It's really about how we as educators come together and co-design this whole day of celebration. So I'm just welcoming you all and bring in all your enthusiasm to the Educators Day. Yeah.
Nandini, would you say that earlier today, the opening session were representatives and side effects? Would you say that their presentation is in the style of presentations that one might find at Educators Day?
Definitely. I found, and being an educator myself, just not about being in the exhibitors floor and trying out different technologies, but it's also more about how do we bring in these technologies to classroom. And I think that's the main difference in attending these sessions.
How about, can you give us an idea of what are some of the companies that have participated during the last 2 years?
Yeah. So last year I've sat in sessions like Epic talking about their whole portfolio and ways that students can be more engaging within the community. And it was also an opportunity for me to be talking with some of my colleagues in other universities and, oh, this is something that you use. So it was really exciting to be sharing our experiences in that space. And as you ask some questions, okay, here's the software, what are the technologies, what are the concepts behind that, what are some of the books that you recommend? I think these are the kind of questions and interactions that are expected in that day. Yeah.
By the way, how was attendance for the last 2 years at Educators Day?
Fully packed. Like I was standing behind and then I found a chair. I didn't want to leave my seat just to go attend another session. So it's a full packed day of.
Weren't they turning away people because fire department laws, we couldn't have any more people in the room?
I don't know.
Yeah, that happened in Vancouver. Absolutely. So, having been involved in the Educators Day for the past 2 years, we ended up doubling the size of the room. And last year's conference versus so 22 was the first ever Educators Day. Last year, 23 was the second. It was double the size. And we still filled the room and they would close the doors more proactively. So, it's definitely a great draw. Rajin asked about, do the industry folks talk about criteria for hiring students? And I know, we've had presentations at Educators Day from the folks from ILM, as well as Disney, Pixar.
Did a joint one last year.
And they absolutely talk about their development programs, and even make suggestions as to how to prepare reels and how to engage with their their talent teams and all of that.
And I would say with those kind of presentations, they'd be wonderful for obviously students to attend, but it's also important for educators to go to those kind of presentations so that they can bring it back to their students and have that information be distributed even wider.
Yeah, and I think there's real, again, in terms of answering that question of how us as educators we can be involved in this, and one of the things that we can really be involved in is we as educators routinely ourselves work with a lot of the industry companies, and sometimes it's on the supply side, whether we're working with motion capture technology companies or software companies or whatnot. We have contacts there, and those contacts value us and want to find more of us. So, take the time to contact your rep that you might be working with as you're working on improving your labs and studios, and say, hey, by the way, have you thought about doing Educators Day at SIGGRAPH? I'm sure a lot of other educators would like to hear from you. So make sure to pass them on to Nandhini.
Yeah.
And share with your colleagues too. I mean, if you're seeing this, there's probably others that are in your discipline at your institution that haven't noticed that they should be applying or submitting to SIGGRAPH.
Companies need to understand, and everyone needs to understand that that there's big difference in terms of the process for Educators Day and the Educators Forum. The Educators Forum goes through the general submissions jury. So in terms for faculty and looking at things like promotion and tenure, your acceptance to that is the same as acceptance to anything at the talk level or panel level, depending on the nature. So it in terms of its value for ranking for presentation, correct. Educators Day is sponsored. SIGGRAPH actually makes money from it. They charge the companies who participate. They pay for the time and then some, which means also that it's worthwhile to those companies. They view it as sufficiently worthwhile to have an opportunity to have educators as an audience, and they also don't want to blow it. In the 2 years we haven't had any bad presentations. Some have been better than others, clearly, and they focus on different things. Some are a little bit more targeted. We had something on I forget what dealing with GPS last year, but when ILM 2 years ago, that's when I had to get them to close the doors because all the exits were blocked. We've had ILM, Disney, Pixar, Adobe, Epic. These are companies that
AMD.
We had AMD last year.
time, yeah.
So I mean, it is the
Autodesk.
full gamut of the full gamut of companies that support the industry. It really is.
So
and what's also really great about them is that those companies are there specifically to speak to us as educators. Right. So they're not up there saying, hey, buy our new thing, because a lot of these presenters, the software providers, were already using their tools in a lot of ways. But I remember the Autodesk presentation sharing about the way that you could custom develop your own tutorials built into Maya. I had no idea that it even existed. And that was what, Autodesk was talking about that time, is that, oh yeah, you can go in here and create your own animated tutorial within Maya. And I thought that was fascinating. And so as an educator, it's an opportunity to be, exposed to some things that aren't going to be pitched in the standard industry presentations. Autodesk wasn't going to talk about that in any of their industry presentations, but they talked about that for educators. And so it's a really great session.
It was made very clear to the presenters at Educators Day that the audience is people involved in education, educators, administrators in education, and students. And that what they do cannot be a duplicate of what they do on the exhibit floor it has to be something that's value added for those type of conference attendees. And the ones I was been able to attend over the years, I have walked away with ideas of things I can do in my classroom, like you just said. And also, we don't have the time to explore every single aspect of, say, even a single program. So if they could point it out to us, we're like, oh, okay, I can do that.
We have had there are between Educators Day, the In Good Company videos, and the annual industry panel, that off and on annual industry panel, there are opportunities for industry academy connections, everything from, right, telling us what to do to prepare our students to get hired by their companies. And it's very interesting because you can start to see the difference between companies, and some are still looking for generalists, some are looking for people with specific skills. There are all sorts of opportunities, and the more we know, the better we can help our students. And so the SIGGRAPH conference in the summer allows us to have all of that. The SIGGRAPH Asia had the educators forum, but it doesn't have the size that brings in the same level of industry support. Now, I can't tell you for Denver, because we've never had it there, how big Denver is going to be. LA is traditionally the largest, but I will tell you that because over the last decade or so, all the studios now have all the companies have studios in Vancouver. Vancouver is large. Vancouver will be very popular. It was it was 2 years ago, and I know it's going to be, because there are people who haven't done it, who told me last summer, if we go back, because at the time we hadn't decided, if we go back to Vancouver in 25, let them know, because they're interested in. I will get you names, Nandini. So
sure, yeah.
But I want to confirm with them that they're still interested.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get to go to the conference, it is not to be missed. And one way to go to the conference is to submit yourself, so you can get perhaps, hopefully, some university support to send you to Denver.
And if you get something accepted, the lowest benefit for having a submission accepted, I believe, is 25% off of your registration.
It depends on what you've been accepted to.
That's the low. I'm saying that's the lowest.
The lowest is 25%.
Which is not, that's not chicken feed. That's something. And more importantly, as you said, Glenn, by having something accepted, hopefully you can get financial support from your university, your college, your institution, and you network. That's what I find fabulous about the conference. And under the efforts of people in the educational component of SIGGRAPH, and I want to give a shout out to Glenn for all the work he's done over the last, 6 years now? 5 years?
This is my 3rd year as chair.
Right. But you've been on way longer.
Yes, and I've had various roles on the conference committee. I was courses chair, I was education liaison, and so I've been around a long time. With
the conference, you have Educators Day on Monday. Educators Forum is Tuesday and Wednesday at the conference. So for educators and anybody in that under that umbrella, you've got 3 full days of presentations you are able to attend that will help you be better at what you do and target it for you. That's the important part.
So, regarding the submissions too, I wanted to point out a couple of things. One is that when you're on the website for the conference, the Educators Forum panel or little tile in the submission space is labeled Educators Forum. But then when you navigate further into the actual form, the digital form that you fill out to submit, it's actually listed as Engaging Education Techniques and Assignments. So don't be confused about that. Submit to the one that includes the word education. Either you can't go wrong with that. Those are the track you're interested in there. And there's also on the page that leads you to the digital form, there is a link to a sample from years ago, like a well-formatted sample. And so I've posted the link to that in the chat as well, if anyone wants to use that as kind of a guideline. The submission, I think, as Bill mentioned, it's not rigidly, you will not be rejected solely because you didn't format your submission exactly like that sample. It's just a sample guide. If the content is valued by the jury and it is recommended for selection and ultimately makes it into a accepted submission, it would be then at that moment that you would, as a submitter, get some guidance on, hey, congratulations, you've been accepted.
Okay.
By the way, here's some extra, here's some formatting and here's how to package your materials so that we can publish it. And so that comes later. So don't worry about rigidly adhering to that. We want to see that content. And one final note is that SIGGRAPH is not just an opportunity for us as educators, but it's a huge opportunity for our students. And there are loads of ways for them to get involved.
Student volunteers?
Yeah, there's student volunteers. There's a student research competition. There's also the space-time submission that can be done as well. Space-time is just digital poster design. It's not a academic poster with content. This is my research. It's a literal graphic poster. So the space-time, I think that call for submission is open. Looks like that's open until May.
Yeah, space-time is open. And
Mayette
and I are handling space-time this year because Anna rotated off the committee. Also, that is faculty submitted student work. Rick was here, I think. Kevin used to run it. He's still here. But faculty submitted student work is both a resource for educators and an opportunity for faculty to get their students' work shown. Again, for teachers who are going for promotion and tenure, everyone's always talking about teach outcomes, and many universities use teaching evaluations to say whether or not we're doing a good job. I tend to also look at the work that the students produce. So faculty submitted student work is an asynchronous way you can become involved with the committee. In fact, because of the amount and the quality of the work that Mayette got from her class last year is why she's now on the committee this year. And there is a subset of the work submitted that will be there's a show reel that Rick Lewis puts together that's an hour long. So some of your students' work may get into the show reel, which we will premiere at a session, at an opening session for educational programming. And because I had my budget meeting last week, there will be some snacks again this year at that opening session when we talk about the program, what we're doing. We will award or announce the winners to space-time. The other thing, which isn't on our website yet, but I can tell you that I have, the winner of the space-time will get a full conference registration. And then the two runners-up will get 50% conference registration. So another reason to encourage your students to participate in space-time.
Yes. And that's at the student registration rate, which is already discounted because it's a student rate.
But it's for the full conference.
Right.
Now, last year, the winner happened to also be a student volunteer, so she didn't use that. And the two runners-ups were both high school students who couldn't come on their own. So, but if any of your college students win, they can come to the conference and get registration. So that will go on the website at some point in the near future.
Yeah. What's at the conference, you can easily say there is something for everyone within the realm of computer graphics and interactive technologies, because that's the proper term. And there's something for everyone. I mean, we could go down the list, but if you're gonna benefit from it, you either have to be there and or submit. That's the way it works. If you don't submit and you don't attend, yeah, there'll be papers you can read online and maybe some videos, but it's not the same, because most of what people as a benefit is when they talk to people and you get ideas for what I can do. Two people at one of the presentations and come out and say, he said this. Have you ever thought about that? I don't know. I haven't. Well, how would you do it? Well, I would do it this way. And those conversations are gold. They really are.
And it's only about 20 hours in the air from Sydney. That includes a brief layover in California. From Europe, let's see, 7 plus another 4. So it's only about 12 hours or so, not including a layover wherever whether it's New York or Chicago or Newark. So yeah, Denver is centrally located in between Europe and Australia. So everybody here should try to get there.
Yep.
We have a question in the chat from Angela. I'm submitting for the first time for a talk. Do you have any advice on how to help my submission stand out?
It's not a matter of standing. I've been on the unified jury a number of times. It's not a matter of standing out as much as it is the quality of what you submit. They do look at to see if it's what you've done is innovative. That tends to, in other words, one of the wonderful things I found from SIGGRAPH is that SIGGRAPH understands its history. For papers and talks, the quality of your references are important. They want to know that you know that your material doesn't duplicate what someone else does. It's fine and great if it builds on other work, but they're looking at they're looking at that indication, and they usually ask for, Bill, are they still asking for a representative image this year or something in the submission? They have in the past. So the representative image is also relevant because they want to know, the jurors want to know whether or not this will be a good presentation. And I should tell you also, this is not only going to be looked at by educators. You are going to, in the general submissions jury, and this was done by intent, they want to make sure that it is of the same sort of level of discourse as all the other submissions at the conference. So I'm not trying to scare people away. On the contrary, I'm trying to make the point that if your work is accepted and you present, you can go back home and justify that the quality is just as good as anything else. At whatever level. Panels are one of the most, you should know in advance, panels are one of the most difficult and selective topics through the general submissions jury. It is not anonymous. You need to, if you're doing a panel, you do need to know who all of your panelists are. They have to be identified.
Short biography and a short statement from each panelist.
And there are going to be people on the jury who are going to probably know some. They're looking for people who are well known in the fields and whatever you're doing. So if you have an idea for a panel, go out and use your contacts and get the very best people you can in whatever that topic is about.
My understanding for this year is that the people on the jury who will be looking at educational submissions will be primarily people in the educational field, but not limited to.
Right.
I'll add that, in a field where everyone's required to submit an image, don't be afraid to make a fun, short little video that shows your students interacting with the work that you're submitting. That seems to be very effective. Admittedly, in the past, when I've made submissions, I haven't included video, and the most common feedback I would get on my submissions is, "Boy, we really wish there was a video here." So I think that's one thing where it's not listed as a requirement per se, but if that helps communicate the innovation that you're sharing and how, again, the Educators Forum also looks for an element of how fun and engaging is this? Because we're always looking for ways to get our students excited about learning in these fields, or to use these technologies, these fields, to excite students about learning something else. And so if you're able to make a video that communicates that, go for it. And there's a place in the forum where you could even just include the link in your little abstract. Here's a sample video, for example. So it doesn't hurt, not required, but that can help.
And when you do,
I think we're about to the end of our time.
Yeah.
Nandhini, Bill, Glenn, thank you all for participating in Soiree 2024. Thank you to all of our attendees, all the ones that are here with us today in this moment, as well as those that were with us earlier and had to drop off. Clearly, you know, folks like Glenn and Nandhini and Bill have the endurance to be here through the whole day. But this has been a really wonderful adventure, and I loved that. You know, again, we started out with folks from Europe and ended up with some folks from Australia. Glenn, do you have any closing comments?
This is really one of our has become one of our big events of the year. We have, you know, obviously SIGGRAPH during the summer. We have a number of asynchronous activities, and we have resources online. But in terms of non-conference live events, this is pretty much it. It was the brainchild of Nick, who created it a couple of years ago. There are opportunities for people who want to do things in the education committee. There are opportunities to do it. I do want to say one last, there's an announcement since there are educators here. Every year, most of you probably know that the SIGGRAPH gives out awards. One is for the Distinguished Educator. The deadline is in 4 days, 4.5 days. When I say the deadline for this year, I mean complete. That includes all letters of recommendation, the statement of teaching philosophy, and so on. It is a lot to do in 4 days. However, if you know someone who is worthy of it and you want to nominate, and you have 4 days where you can get all the stuff together, go ahead. It goes right to me. The information. I'm the chair of that as well. Who's here? Miho is on that. The other people making that decision are all past or present members of the education committee. So I'm chairing it along, and then with Barbara Moans, past recipient, Miho Aoki, Johannes DeYoung, and Rajani Spitz, who is still here with us. So we do have applications, and if you don't get it this year, think about it for next year. I do know that the time is very tight for now, so but I wanted to let people know. And I want to also reiterate what Nick said. I want to thank everybody here for everything that they've done. Everyone here is a volunteer who submits, who participates. Your efforts are not taken for granted, at least not by me. And I am grateful that everybody is interested enough to want to do this. And I think it's terrific. And I look forward to seeing all of you in person at the conference in Denver. And for some of you on the committee, I'll see you a week from Tuesday at our monthly meeting. There's a lot to do, as usual. But again, I want to thank everybody, especially the people at the extremes, but you know, Germany, Portugal, and Australia, for making the effort to be part of this. It's truly appreciated. So thank you. So, thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy your weekend.
See you next year, or see you in Denver.